Libra 2026 horoscope overview video. So, if you have Libra rising in your birth chart or you're born with the sun in Libra, this is the video forecast for you and what a year you are coming into. So, overall, it is the Western side of your horoscope that is the most active in 2026. So, you're going to have Mars, Saturn, Neptune. Then there's going to be Jupiter and eclipses activating your other social sectors as well. So essentially, in 2026, where you find the others is some of your busiest houses. So it's not just because you're a Libra, which is often associated with the idea of relationships. It is actually relationships that are going to be very, very busy for you. As I go through this video, I'll go into more depth about that, but there are also opportunities for you this year amongst the chaos or amongst the busyness and the flux and flurry of other people. You are going to have a deeply personal period where you can pull back your energy, where you can withdraw a little bit and reassess the year thus far. That's going to happen for you when Venus retrogrades partially in the sign of Libra. Those dates are going to be from October 25 through to November 14. This is where you can pull your energy back and figure out where you want to be over the next 8 years. The Venus retrograde cycle is quite uniformed, and so every 8 years you go through this. So do give some thought to where you've been, where you were 8 years ago. How did you look from a physical perspective? How were you being in the world? What were your thoughts? What were your values? And what were your priorities then? How have they changed? How have they evolved? And you might need to readjust a few things in order to reflect that. The next time you'll experience a similar cycle will be 8 years from now, well, from October and November. So you might want to think in these longer term cycles, approximately every decade, and reflect on that and set some goals, set some new values, and make those adjustments. Venus retrograde, especially if it happens in your sign, and not all the signs get a Venus retrograde. Um, Libra is one of the ones that does in this current meta cycle. You might need to think about toward the end of the year, with all the flurry and the energy of others in your horoscope this year, maybe how have you overcompromised? Where have you negotiated for the betterment of others or a relationship and not really factored in your own desires, needs, and wants quite enough? So you might need to consider, what is important to you as equally as all of the other moving dynamics in your life. So yes, this could mean, yeah, I'm just ready for a new style. I want to upgrade. I want to look different. When we're talking about cycles that are approximately a decade long, there can be a big difference, say between 35 and, 42, 43. Like that's a big kind of gap, if that makes sense. So you might want to figure out how you want to reflect um, physically, how you also want to reflect in terms of that age and stage of your life and how things have evolved. So overall, Venus is a relationship planet. That's one of her main significations. And so you might want to think about your relationship to yourself as well. How has that grown, changed, and evolved? Where do you need to maybe reinvest a little bit of energy back into yourself and understanding yourself in relationship to other people? So rather than being that compromiser, the accommodator, the negotiator, or potentially even the lack of decision making, and yes, that is the low hanging fruit of Libra, but at a deeper level, it might be that reflection of, yeah, well, maybe I did not put my own needs first in that particular situation, or maybe I didn't even consider what my own needs were, which can sometimes be a condition of Libra. Hey, I have some Libra stuff, so I can say that. But yeah, sometimes we just think so much for the consensus that we don't think for ourselves. And so Venus is just going to invite you to think about that. So, as I was saying, that she only goes through a portion of Libra in this retrograde, it's because she also spends some of the time in Scorpio. Now, in your birth chart, Scorpio is the sign that rules money and cash flow. So, because of what Venus is doing, in the latter parts of 2026, you're going to get an extra long version of Venus in Scorpio in your cash flow zone. So from the 10th of September through to October 3, she is going to help you attract more money. And who doesn't want that? She's going to make it a little bit easier for you to boost your cash flow. Maybe you want to indulge a little bit. You know, Venus is very fond of her treats and trinkets. So you might decide, yeah, it's time to splurge on myself a little bit. It's time to buy those things that I've been holding off purchasing. So that can be a thing. You might find it easier to attract support, sustenance, abundance in many shapes and forms while Venus moves through Scorpio. So she will do that, but from the 3rd to the 25th, she's going to retrograde. And then, of course, part of that retrograde will continue on into Libra. So while she is in Scorpio still, this is your period to invest in yourself, I think. This might be investing in yourself financially. So maybe that could mean a whole bunch of things, depending on what your personal needs, wants, and desires are. You might invest in yourself physically. So maybe you decide, yes, I am going to go and buy those clothes or buy those shoes or jewelry or, whatever it is that you like. And it also can be about investing in yourself emotionally. So the second house is a lot more than just cash and money and those sorts of things. It really is about your beliefs in yourself, your beliefs in how you can attract those things. You know, some people don't have a strong sense of self-worth and therefore they don't attract the things that they really want. So there is still kind of this idea or this concept through this Venus retrograde is maybe looking at some worthiness issues, self belief issues, and just reworking some of those. I mean, we all have different types of limiting beliefs. We all have different kind of blocks within us. We get to a certain level in life, and then, it doesn't matter whether you're rich, poor, somewhere in between, or you have all the external levels of success and even the internal levels of success, however you choose to define it. I think life is it's like being a lobster, constantly having to break beyond our shells and regrow them. And so with Venus in Scorpio, that analogy most certainly fits for you. So if you want more out of the material world, a big part of Venus is appreciating what you've already got. The little things, Venus is about the treats, the trinkets, having that warm cup of coffee in the morning, which I adore personally, and, just being grateful for the things you already have. And that's a big magnetic force, that power of attraction. It's very cliche these days, but gratitude certainly does make a big difference. So when you learn to appreciate what you've already got, you will make room for more. And so Venus retrograde through your second and through your first houses is going to be a big reminder to rework the idea of gratitude, of benevolence, of generosity, of beauty and connection. Now, Venus retrograde in your second house is also going to ask you, are you being a good guardian of your money? Are you being generous with it? Are you in a good relationship with it? Are you opening the channels of flow through circulating it? Or are you retaining and holding or controlling it too much, which is sometimes what the Scorpio energy can very much do. So as Venus retrograde leaves Scorpio and then goes into your first house, Mercury's going to come in. So you get a double whammy of retrograde action through your money zone this year. So from the 4th of October through to the 14th of November, Mercury comes in. So while Venus has more of these kind of relational qualities to these topics, Mercury's going to actually be very supportive and help you get practical about these things. So when you start to figure out what your desires are, Venus, Mercury can help you draw up the plan. Mercury can help you write things down. What are you grateful for already? Write it down. What would you like more of? Write that down. So, even at the most practical level, Mercury is going to support budget making, spreadsheets, accounting. If you like that stuff, if you're into that stuff, it's going to be a very, very good opportunity to do that. Just tick a few boxes, cross some T's, dot some I's. As always, with Mercury retrograde in your second house, you might experience a few delays around money, um, invoices not getting paid, banking issues, general logistical issues, that sort of stuff as well. So it might be helpful to really get in touch with your bank, you open up your apps or what have you, make sure that, everything is as it should be. There's no funky stuff going on. It can be a really good time to just kind of start to get on top of your money because you can't manage what you don't measure. And so this combination of Venus and Mercury can really help you do that. Okay, there's more. So once Venus finishes winding up her time in Libra in your first house, and she's going to come back into Scorpio, no longer retrograde. And that period of time is between the 4th of December through to January 7 of 2027. So by the time the old year becomes new, in approximately 1 year from now, of recording this video, today's the 8th of November, 2025, you're going to see the benefits of all of this retrograde energy that really started kicking off in about September. So essentially, the third quarter of 2026 is a little bit of a vibe where you're going to have to reassess and go through some upgrades financially, personally, and just maybe kind of understanding what it means to sort of put your own wind back into your own sails, as opposed to seeing that from other people. So essentially, you're going to be setting off sail 2027, knowing exactly who you are, what you want, and how to get it. So it's very, very empowering. Now, your domestic life, your home and family living situation, all ruled by the fourth house. In 2026, I was going to say 2025, in 2026, it's kind of business as usual. There's nothing terribly spectacular going on in that space. So if you are a Libra rising, you're probably very happy about that after so much Capricorn in recent years. Now, you will have Mars come through there. That being said, from mid-December of 2025 through to January 24 of 2026. So essentially, as this year, 2025, becomes new into 2026, you'll get to have that once in every 2 year opportunity to create some goals about the domestic life you really want. When we're talking Mars, 9 times out of 10, we're sort of thinking in a 2 year cycle. So, where were you 2 years ago in terms of your domestic life, and where would you like to be in 2 years from now? So, set the goals, make the plans. So, how you want your family life to look, how you want your living situation to look, who you live with, the family dynamics, the relational dynamics, whether it's a partner and kids, whether you still live at home with parents, whether you're taking care of elderly parents, maybe you have flatmates, maybe you rent out rooms in your home to people, whatever it is, think about as this year ends and the new year comes, how do you want this to look for you? Maybe you want to buy, maybe you want to sell. There's all of that sort of stuff as well. Now, to my mind, because there's nothing particularly unique. I mean, Mars is kind of rare, it's only every 2 years, but there's nothing from the outer planetary perspective that's making your fourth house particularly active. You've been through that with Pluto, and then of course we had some Saturn energy there in the late teens and in 2020. but it's Saturn is the planet that rules your fourth house. So Saturn's in charge of family matters for you. Now, in 2026, it's going to settle into your relationship house. This tells me that much of what you're going to be dealing with in 2026 is going to be more of a relational dynamic. So maybe it's family relationships, making adjustments to accommodate people in your home. Maybe you're downsizing, maybe you have to upgrade, maybe you're getting married and the domestic dynamics are going to be shifting. Maybe you're divorcing and those dynamics are shifting. Maybe you're going to be having children and you need to figure out what that looks like. So I do feel that even though at on paper your fourth house looks a little quieter than normal this year, I do think there will be some action for sure. You might even just move. Who knows? Relationships. So that's a big, big area for you in 2026 and beyond. You're in some longer cycles when it comes to the seventh house. The seventh house primarily is the house of marriage, but it's the house of whomever you are with. Excuse me. That was a sneeze. So, whomever you are with. So whether it's a partner for the moment or a long-term partner. You got a bit of a preview of how relationships are changing for you in 2025. We had Neptune in Aries from March to October of 2025. Saturn was from May to September. So a good chunk of 2025 gave you a little bit of a heads up for how things are changing. So the two main energies will be Neptune settling into Aries and your seventh house from about the 26th of January for a period of 14 years. So that's a long one. And that's going to bring, a whole level of, because it's such a long cycle, it's going to bring kind of waves and an evolving Neptunian experience throughout this period of time. And you'll also have Saturn. Saturn will settle there from the 14th of February and it will last 2 years. So they're going to make a rare pairing, an exceptionally rare pairing on February 2021. So when it comes to the energy of Saturn, you may need to, in 2026 and in 2027 as well, and into 2028, I think it's April, it moves into Taurus. 2026, you may need to really think about your boundaries and honor them. When boundaries, sometimes it's not always about walls, it's about what you're not willing to compromise on and what you are. So deciding what that is. Libra is the great compromiser, and that's great. Not in all situations. So, figure that out for yourself. It's going to be individual for everybody. For some, you may need to become even more boundary oriented. And then maybe for some others, it's about softening the walls you've already built up around you. So there will be, Saturn can come through in a variety of ways. And because we've got Neptune coming in, it does make it a little bit more, tricky. It makes it a little bit more, are the boundaries too tight? Are they not tight enough? But the concept of figuring out whom you're willing to commit to, which non-negotiables you have when it comes to others, and then it just makes it easier to do the negotiations when I am not willing to budge on X thing, Y thing, and Z thing. So, Neptune might take on a bigger influence for you in 2026. So it might be softening those boundaries if they're already too firm. It might be a bit of a roomy experience where your job in 2026 is to sort of knock down the walls of your heart that stopped letting love in. So, you might have a few people that come into your life with Neptune. And I just say this as a caveat for anyone who's got Neptune remotely connected to relationships, either natally or via transit. There is a level of caution here. Those boundaries, while they can have their limits, they can have they can have their blockages. Sometimes they're very protective. Neptune can bring in people who are a little manipulative, deceitful, not all they appear to be. They can be a little bit flaky or unreliable. So be mindful of that in 2026. And it's this conjunction that happens in the February 21. Notice the events that happen around that time. It could be the circumstances of an existing relationship. It could be the circumstances in a emerging or a developing, blossoming relationship. And it doesn't have to just be the romantic relationships, neither. Sometimes we pull people into our life for a period of time, and it could be a bestie and you do everything with them. They're the people you call and you message all the time. They're not our partners, but they are a partner for a period of time. So sometimes, our besties can almost fill that role as well. So again, that 21st of February period, I would probably just say the whole month of February. Take note of the events and the experiences around that time because that's probably going to give you a good clue. Is Saturn going to be the dominant feature for you in this cycle, or will it be Neptune? Do you surrender, or do you erect those boundaries and do not go past here? So you'll have another influence affecting relationships, and that is when your personal relationship planet, which is Mars is the sign that rules the seventh house for you, comes through this space, and that will be from the 10th of April to the 19th of May. This is going to boost your confidence. If you've been a little hoodwinked by Neptune, or, you feel a little fearful because Saturn is keeping you from letting love in. Mars can help you take the axe to those walls. Mars can help you become more assertive, a little bit more dominant, a little bit more ravenous about what you might like or what you want out of a particular circumstance. Mars is passionate and it has a can-do attitude. So this will be a great period for you to push forward in love, push forward in relationships, um, get yourself out there to meet someone new if you're single, and if you're partnered, organize stuff, make things happen rather than just going with the flow. When it comes to happiness, children, joy, creativity, there's another really exciting forward progress type of energy coming through. You're starting to settle into the vibe of Neptune, not Neptune, sorry, Pluto in Aquarius. That's there for 20 years now, and that's going to be its own storyline. But from the 27th of July, the North Node will move into that space for 18 months. The North Node is a point of hunger, of ambition, of more. I like to liken it to the yellow brick road. Wherever the North Node travels in your birth chart via transit, it's providing openings. You might find that you have a hunger or a desire or a need for something that otherwise doesn't really float the boat for you. So when it comes to the fifth house, you may be hungry for more joy, more happiness, maybe a creative project that's been on the back burner for a period of time starts to come into focus. The fifth house has got to do with dating, mating, and relating as well. So maybe you want to get out there and date and meet people. Maybe you're in a relationship already and you just need to spice things up in that department. You might have a very fun time in that period, with the North Node being there and saying, I want more of whatever the fifth house suggests for you. So there's going to be fast forward progress, whatever that fifth house is. You may be single and childless at this point in your life, but with this combination of planets, if you have Libra rising, there is a strong chance that in 12 to 18 months, 2 years, your life will look very different in this part of your life. The fifth house is where we find babies, where we make them too. So the North Node coming through that part of your chart does provide that road opening where that part of your life can become more active. It might just be children are a bigger part of your life. Maybe you'll have nieces or nephews, or something to do with what you're doing in the world involves children. Now, you're going to get a bit of an insight on what's on offer into this very exciting cycle on an eclipse that happens on the 17th of February. So, do take note again, February is a very big month for you if you've got Libra rising in terms of relationships, partnerships, and dating, and all of those good things. Adventure. So life is again going to change for you in sort of dramatic ways, how you see the world and your overall perspective on life. Uranus is coming in for good from the 26th of April. You got a preview of that from July and November of 2025. It's not new energy, it's just going to be a mainstay for the course of the next 7 years. Uranus can bring sudden awakenings, rapid developments in ninth house topics. So travel may start to beckon. You may have been sort of wherever you live, whichever country you're watching this from, maybe you haven't really gone anywhere for a while, and then all of a sudden you're thinking to myself, oh, I want to go here, I want to do that. Travel is going to be a big part of the picture when Uranus really starts to activate that space for you. It's a once in a lifetime journey. We only get Uranus through our ninth houses, for the most part, just once in a lifetime. Holidays with meaning will come through with this cycle. Uranus is associated with great awakenings, and oftentimes those awakenings are spiritual in nature, which is also what the ninth house is all about. So you might go through this process regardless of wherever your spiritual, religious leanings are, that you go through a process of wrangling with God and what that all means for you. What does magic, spirituality, the divine, all of those kind of really juicy topics will come into your sphere. Thank you to Uranus. So, the ninth house is also study related. So, you might find a sudden urge that you want to learn something new. Gemini is a sign of curiosity. So, whatever really piques your interest in 2026, you might have started to really feel what that is in 2025. You're going to be invited to explore. I don't think you'll be invited. Uranus is going to push you to explore those kind of things. You know, the ninth house can also represent your worldview, your perspectives on everything to do, as I said, spirituality, religion, academia, politics, the law, morals, ethics, all of those kind of things. Now, when Uranus comes through in the double-bodied sign of Gemini, it's going to be really important to hold space for the alternative point of view, the more than one. So if you've kind of got trapped in ideologies or political ways of thinking, Uranus is going to sort of shatter the paradigm and invite you to see things from a multiplicity of perspectives. And the beautiful thing about Uranus is that while it shakes things up, it's very experimental. So you might find yourself, maybe dabbling in different religious faiths, maybe dabbling in different political or ideological ideas, and starting to sort of try different things on for size until you start to settle down a little bit and figure out what spiritual paths of awakening are working for you. So that's pretty exciting. There's this idea that the world is your oyster, and that can be physically, it can be metaphorically. 29th of June to the 11th of August will also be key for progress. Mars is going to push through there. So you're going to want to travel, you're going to want to study, you'll want to sign up for that course, you'll want to read that book or potentially even write one. Now, that is going to be a period of time where you're going to be encouraged with Mars to find the right path for you. Now, friends is a really big part of your life in 2026, is because from the second half, June 30 through to mid 2027, Jupiter is going to make the rare once every 12-year visit to that space in your life. So you're going to be, Jupiter in Leo there for 12 months is going to make it easier to be seen by others, whether that's online or in real life. Your opportunities for networking, socializing, being among other people, whether it's on the one-on-one friendships, whether it's a community group, whether it's an industry organization that's attached to your professional life. There's going to be that expansion of all of those things. Everyone's going to want a piece of you with Jupiter in Leo. So you might be the center of attention for some time, and that may be really great, particularly if a goal for you is to have more of a social life or, get more friends, make more friends and friendships and have more people from a community point. I think a lot of people probably need that these days. But, you may be the center of attention and people will want stuff from you. You might have some wisdom. You might have some knowledge that other people are wanting to, um, learn from or benefit from in some way. Now, there's also a contradictory cycle coming through in Leo. So, about 3 weeks after Jupiter arrives on July 27, the south node of the moon will move in. So, you have the north node in the fifth and the south in the 11th. So while Jupiter expands, makes bigger, will open up a vista of opportunities for you, the South Node kind of says, I want to minimize, I want to reduce, I want less. You're going to need to be quite cautious around if you're expanding your networks, who is draining your energy, who might be a little extractive, who is an energy vampire in your life, essentially. Notice where you feel drained by others, and you might need to be recognizing quality over quantity when it comes to the connections you make. This combination is actually pretty spiritual. In the Western tradition, we see the South Node as just losing, loss, surrender, letting go, a cleansing. But these things make room for spirituality. They make room for more. Sometimes the less desirable things happen in our lives to help us turn to the spiritual, to help us turn to the divine and make more meaning out of the situation. And then that's where the new growth comes through. So you may be really keen to develop those who are friendships and connections with those who share spiritual ideals, that you have a group of a key few of which you can grow together, as opposed to perhaps an entourage that is wasting a whole bunch of your time. August 13 brings a pretty stunning eclipse in this space. So, the month of August, you might see where some of your existing loyalties get a little bit tested, and that might be your clue or your key to just observe who appears to be in your corner or literally is in your corner or who isn't during that cycle. The South Node will bring some cleansing of friendships and will allow others to blossom and grow. Birthdays. So even if you don't have Libra rising, or you're not sure if you've got Libra rising, if you are a Libra, Pluto is going to trine the sun for you if your birthday's between the 26th and the 29th. This is going to be a year of emerging. Shedding off old layers of yourself is just going to feel easy. Stepping into a situation of empowerment through outgrowing the old self. Old habits and patterns and attitudes will just be easier to change. You're just ready to, you're ready for the next thing and the new thing. So, yes, it's a Pluto transit, but it's probably the more empowering version of it where you can start to really spread your wings and be who you really want to be. From the 29th, or sorry, the 23rd to the 29th of September, Uranus is going to oppose the Sun. This is one of the biggest opportunities for change and growth that you'll see for some time. And that's probably going to come through primarily through other people. So this year really is about, I was going to say the year of living dangerously, and that could also be true, but the year of living differently. Push yourself, consciously make changes that are different from the status quo or what you would normally do. By far, and this is my favorite thing for you, make this year a year of asking for forgiveness and not permission. Don't be afraid, Libra, to upset an apple cart or two. Now, from the oh my Lord, I can't even read my own writing here. So let me just see. From the 8th to the 23rd of October, Jupiter will square the sun. Now, this is your invitation to stretch. Stretch beyond a comfort zone. Say yes. No maybes. No, I'll think about it. No, I'm not sure. I don't know. What do you think? Just say yes. Go all in, make decisions, and that's how you're going to expand and grow this year. Don't think about it, just say yes. I hope this video was useful, informative, and kind of maybe got you a little bit excited for what is in store for you this year. If you would like to learn more about the year of 2026 as it happens, the Golden Circle Astrology membership is the place to go. Every month you get videos of me describing the energy of that month. There's communities, there's resources, there's live calls, there's all of the information you need to be able to live your life alongside with the planets and get to learn astrology more as you go. A reading is always available. So if you want to sort of figure out how these energies are going to play out for you more personally, book in a reading with me. And on December 10 of this year of 2025, the Contemporary Astrology Program begins. Enrollment is open now. And if you would like to learn astrology from the beginning and over the course of the first year together, you'll be able to read charts, then that is the course for you to sign up. And maybe that will be your Uranus in the 10th transit for you. Anyway, all of the links to those offerings will be in the description box below. And I really do hope you have the best year yet.